Hi everyone, welcome back. So today for US History, we are again moving forward with Unit 6 onto Lesson 4. So what we've dealt with so far has been really dealing with what happened that caused the Great Depression and then how the Great Depression was experienced in society. Now, the Great Depression continues, but as has been alluded to a little bit so far, there are also ideas on, well, what on earth is going to be done to actually fix this economic situation in the country. Now, when we look at the economic side, we really actually have to consider the political side as well. So what we're essentially going to be looking at today has to do with what were politics like back during the Great Depression and a little bit after. And I'll set up for why we're doing it this way and how everything ties into our unit on the grander scale. Okay, so today's essential question is, what were the diverse perspectives on the government's response to this national crisis? How and why did people have contrasting ideas? Now, this is a question that we have been considering for our entire time together in class. I've said it many times that you can look at any issue in history, and within its own time, you will find that people disagreed about whether it was the right thing to do. So, when there are propositions for how to address the Great Depression and how to fix it, there were multiple perspectives on the best way forward, and those ideas tie in with politics. So, that kind of leads into our key skill of all the many skills that we have in this class. I think the key one today is contextualization. So, notice one part of contextualization is considering the broad trends. Well, one broad trend in this time period was that people had different political ideas and what those political ideas were. And that feeds into that second one there. What were common beliefs that people had about society during this era? So if we understand the way people thought and how those fit into broader trends, that tells us what the context was like for how people thought back then. So today we're establishing how did people think economically and how did people think in terms of political ideas back then? And then tying into our key concept. So the modern set of political ideas we have today, so conservatives versus liberals, Democrats versus Republicans, actually began during the Great Depression era, and those groups disagreed about the best way to respond to the modern economic crisis. So the way we define those terms today for modern politics, if you look at current events, those terms solidify, and some of them actually originate during the Great Depression and making a decision about how to respond to it. So today we really need to solidify what these new political ideals are in order so that you can understand why people disagreed about it throughout the rest of the unit and why people disagree about responses to economic problems, even like today, based on their political beliefs. All right, so as usual, I want to show you where to access the stuff on Google Classroom. So here we go for this last part. All right, so you'll head over to Google Classroom. We've got all this stuff going right here at the top for our most recent unit. We've gotten through 1, 2, 3. We'll click on 4. You'll notice that sort of like lesson 1, this one's just a video lecture about all of the what the political ideas and terminology of this era were. So kind of a slowdown. There's nothing written to go with this. Normally in class, I would have done this. You would have copied all these ideas down yourself. But of course, we're not in class, so we're not going to do that. So you'll click on that link. It will take you to Edpuzzle. All this distance learning has a lot of like a learning curve to it for teachers and for students. Some people are having problems with getting into Edpuzzle through the links I'm posting. So one way to get to Edpuzzle in order to make sure you can access the lecture videos there is you can always just go to Google, type in Edpuzzle, make sure you log in with your school at vistausd.org Google account, and then they're all tied in together and you should be able to look at the assignments and everything there. So that's sort of our workaround if you're having trouble logging in. Contact me if you continue to have trouble. And that's it. So there's really no more directions to look at than say, watch the video, know the ideas, and you can always look back at the video later on as need be. All right, so we'll go back to just wrap up looking at our big ideas again. Remember, essential question is tied to how people have different ideas during crises, like the Great Depression, like today with the coronavirus. You really need to be considering context today, right? Because that has to do with how did people believe things, what was the way people generally thought among the trends that were occurring. And the big idea is knowing what these political terms are, so the words and what they mean, and how having those different political ideas guided the way people thought about ways to address the Great Depression in an attempt to end it. All right, folks, that's it. So you'll see me next time. Tune in then. See you later.